known my friend, we'll call him Mark, since college. We're very close and hang out together pretty regularly. Mark has been with his fiancée, let's call her Laura, since grad school, so about 6 to 7 years. Mark and Laura have been engaged for 2 years and will be married in a month. I know, not much time here. For the first few years of the relationship, I had zero problems with Laura. She seemed a bit shy and reserved, which is unusual for our group of friends, but otherwise seemed like a fine partner for Mark. Indeed, my only reservation was actually that Mark, having a strong personality and being an overly rational, intellectual, argumentative person, sometimes seemed to run roughshod over Laura. I don't know what roughshod means, but anyway. Over the last 2 years or 3 years, Laura has opened up a bit more, and initially that was really great. My girlfriend Julie and Laura became closer and started hanging out, and the four of us would go out regularly, either just us or with other friends, and it was actually pretty great. Recently, however, we started noticing that there are some key issues with the relationship that makes us, and other friends actually, wonder whether they should be together at all. Now that we know Laura better, we've realized she's insanely insecure and anxious. She's constantly complaining about minor things about the wedding, including his parents' small requests, and even the nice things they do for her. We've watched them argue about pretty personal stuff, and she's pretty happy to air their dirty laundry and complain incessantly about things that it's clear he'd rather discuss in private. She also has been somewhat cruel and unfair to him in our presence. Finally, and here's the key thing, they seem to have a pretty fundamental disagreement about a key issue in their relationship. Think something as fundamental as whether or not to have kids. With him being in the firm, yes, I want to do this, and I need a partner who will at least consider it camp, and her being in the I am what? I can't read it. One sec. And her being in the I am saying I'll consider it. But I'm pretty sure I'm ultimately going to say to not want to do this, and that you're kind of an asshole for asking me to do it in the first place. The argument issue is fairly specific, and so I don't want to give more details for the fear of identifying them. In addition, they've been arguing seemingly non-stop for what seems like over a year, with Laura regularly complaining to my girlfriend that she's miserable, anxious, stressed, etc. because of various relationship issues. Mark is not a complainer, but we know he is similarly not happy. There are issues with that, in our mind, are part of Mark's personality that won't change, and Laura knows they will not change. For instance, Mark has long-term close female friends, whose friendship he prioritizes highly. Laura thinks their interactions are inappropriate, and that he puts their needs above hers. But Mark has been clear that his interactions with them will not change. Mark has also had a difficult time-consuming career and doesn't have much time to do household chores or to spend time alone with Laura. Again, this is not something that will change anytime soon. Another big issue is Laura believes some of Mark's fundamental values have changed over the course of their relationship. Things she admired and found attractive, but initially, and that now she doesn't like very much. As I said, my girlfriend and I have been seeing these issues for some time, and they came to a head recently. When we both sort of told them that they should think about postponing the wedding, they acknowledged that they had thought about it and said they had a good long talk and decided they wanted to go ahead with it. They said they discussed all their issues and talked them through and come to consensus. We trusted that they had and sort of shrugged our shoulders. It may be worth noting that although Mark was able to discuss this in a level-headed way, Laura's response was to sort of withdraw for a few weeks and stop talking to us and hanging out with us, to make it clear to our other friends that she was doing this because we didn't support their marriage. She later acknowledged that the reason she did this was because she felt there was some truth to what we were saying, and hanging out with us upset her because it brought those feelings up again and she was trying to get over them. I don't think just trying to get over them fixes any situation or any problem, so that's just kind of stupid to be honest. But anyway, Just this weekend, we saw them argue again, including about the fundamental question I noted above, and it was clear that they are still in very different places, still unhappy, and still arguing constantly. It was also clear and upsetting that Laura was basically including us in the argument so that she could badmouth Mark and try to get us on her side. Not only was it not working because we think he's more in the right than she is, but it was also incredibly callous and hurtful to Mark, and she didn't seem to care. We've gotten to the point where it's actually hard to spend time with Laura. My girlfriend doesn't like her at all. I'm fine spending time with her, but I really feel that they're not a good match and they're going to make each other unhappy. At the very least, I feel they need to postpone the wedding until they have come to a place where they derive happiness from the relationship, as opposed to this constant fighting about things large and small. The question is, should I talk to Mark about this? I've already shared some of what I'm thinking and been told everything's fine. But this time I might be a little more open and also tell him that I'm happy to handle some of the logistical post-wedding canceling stuff, calling people whatever, if that's something that's weighing on him. TLDR, I don't think my friend should marry his fiancée. Should I tell him? Update. Okay, I'm not gonna read the update yet, but oh wait, the update is actually from Julie. Which isn't that wait a minute, who's Julie? Is that OP? Because I thought Laura was, the girlfriend that we don't like. Or maybe Julie is OP's girlfriend, I have no idea. But anyways, Julie says, I am the Julie in question. I would add this to what my love, the OP, said. Oh, okay, there we go. That's the girlfriend. While we have sort of told them that they should think about postponing the wedding, that was in a very light-handed way, hoping to spark a conversation that took place almost a year ago, long before lots of new and troubling information arose. If we were to have the conversation now, it would be a far clearer, far more detailed, and include a lot of things that we didn't know at that time. In other words, the first conversation was, have you guys talked about postponing the wedding? And this one would be, do not marry this woman, she's awful, she doesn't like you, you're unhappy, and it's only going to get worse. Perhaps this is a rationalization, but I truly believe that he does not know that we think this wedding is a bad idea, and he definitely does not know that we actually dislike his fiancée. I frankly struggle to see how we will be able to have the kind of friendship we used to have with Mark if they go through with it. It's not a threat, it's her or us, it's just reality. As Opie said, I cannot stand Laura for more than a few minutes at a time. I cannot help but take everything she says in the most negative possible light, seeing every comment as a confirmation of my bad opinion of her, and I hate the way she treats him. I don't know if I will be able to treat her with the kind of respect and kindness that is required of even having a decent relationship with her husband. I can already see myself avoiding spending time with them as a result. Even conversations that have nothing to do with this are tinged by awkwardness. Not just on our end, but on theirs, because they know we see the problems, even if they don't know how upset we are by them. Ultimately, I'm leaning away from saying something. I think that there is such a small likelihood of a good result, him calling off the wedding, and such a high likelihood of a bad result, she comes to hate us, and it dooms our relationship with him, and or causes her to badmouth us to mutual friends. And I think it's a bad idea. As a side note, I don't put any weight on the let them make their own decisions responses here because it's so obvious it's not worth worrying about. Of course, they get to make their own decision. We're not going to actively try and stop the marriage if they go through with it. Yeah, obviously, what the hell? The question is whether what we have to say should be involved in the decision or not, because we love him and have a perspective on it that he doesn't. Alright, 5 months later, here's another update, by the way. So, Julie and I took the advice of most people here and kept our mouths shut about our feelings about Laura. We were enthusiastic at the wedding and went out of our way to be gracious and kind to her in the run-up of it, and after the wedding went off without a hitch, and we thought maybe they turned over a new leaf, and after the stress of the wedding was removed, she'd be a better partner to him, but sadly the opposite happened. I guess I should start by explaining that the key disagreement they had prior to marriage was about having an open relationship. Wow, he was very much I want to at least explore this camp, and she seemed very reluctant. Wow, why did you even get married? What the hell? And kind of pissed that he was asking her to consider this in the first place, shortly before the wedding. However, she started to develop an interest in another man, and all of a sudden her doubts were all but gone. Mark was happy and excited for her, and things appeared to be going better. Unfortunately, they didn't last. Over the last few months, Mark and Laura have had increasingly bad fights, and pretty much every time we asked how things are going, he'd respond with not good. Whenever we hung out, she did increasingly annoying things like sulking if we weren't doing activities she liked. Wow, like she's a kid basically. Leaving events without even saying goodbye, and complaining that we were excluding her from things because we failed to somehow read her mind and determine that she wanted to do something other than what we were doing, etc. We had a talk with Mark about this, and he sort of agreed that she was being ridiculous in several ways, and that we had a right to be upset with her attitude, and said that maybe we should take a break from hanging out with her. We were fine about this, but it was pretty annoying that she was basically making him choose between spending time with us and with her. A few weeks after the conversation, he called us to tell us that they're getting a divorce. We were pretty shocked, but here's the skinny. I've never heard someone say like the summary as a skinny. That's kind of funny. Shortly after they returned from their honeymoon, Laura went to see her, let's call him boyfriend. She came back sad and upset, told him the guy had broken things off, presumably because he felt different about the relationship now that she has married. He empathized and comforted her. A few days later, he noticed she was acting a little weird, checked her email, and realized that the breakup was a lie. Essentially, boyfriend told her they could only keep seeing each other if no one else, including Mark, knew about it. Instead of breaking it off, having a conversation with Mark about it, or anything else sensible, she decided to lie to her husband so she could have an affair. And I call it an affair because an open relationship lying under these circumstances definitely makes it cheating in my book. He, of course, felt incredibly hurt and betrayed, but instead of kicking her to the curb like I would have, he talked to her and to the guy to explain this was unacceptable and uncool, but told him that he was fine allowing the relationship to continue. Oh, that's a bit weird, okay. The only thing he asked was that going forward she refrained from sharing certain details about the relationship, Mark and Laura's, with the boyfriend, which is a reasonable request. Apparently not to her. A few months later, he finds out she set up a separate email account and was using it to communicate with the boyfriend about precisely the kind of things Mark had asked her not to share with him. She had left the account open, and had previously told him he was free to check her email and phone as a way to regain trust after the first fuck up. She was also telling the boyfriend that she was thinking about a divorce because things were so terrible with Mark. Now again, this is where I would have kicked her the fuck out. Instead, Mark takes a few days to cool off away from her, comes back and tells her that she needs to break up with the boyfriend and focus on fixing the relationship through therapy and closing off any other potential romantic partners. She's initially very apologetic and seems to want to work on things. But of course, after a few days, she starts throwing hissy fits because she didn't know it was that big of a deal. To him, and he wouldn't sleep in the same room as her, which to her means he's not really trying to fix it. Keep in mind, it's been less than 2 weeks since he found out she had betrayed him for the second time in less than 4 months. He tells her he needs time. At this point, he's seriously thinking about divorce, but doesn't want to give up on the marriage, considering it's been less than 6 months. That's crazy. And then he comes home from hanging out with us for the evening. She comes home a bit later and just basically tells him that she had just made out with some guy from her gym she'd been hanging out with. Essentially, she decided that things were going to work anyway. She chose the most childish and hurtful way she could end it. So now they're getting divorced. I'm not even sure I'm posting this, mostly because I wanted to vent to strangers about how horrible this woman is, and I can't do it in real life. He's handling this extremely well and being super gracious and mature about it. And to his credit, he isn't really into shit talking her, though she deserves it. And everyone he's told essentially reacted some variant of, well, I guess now I can tell you all the things I never liked about her. I, on the other hand, want to punt her, the C word, into next week. So there's that. Thanks again for the original comments. Okay, so that is really that's really crazy. Some relevant comments here. Someone said, "Look, both were hoping that the other would compromise, hoping that the other would budge, but neither did. So why does she get shit for not opting out of the relationship? Mark could have done the same and called the wedding off, but he told you they were still going through with it. So OP says she gets shit because she lied and cheated. Simple as that." Someone else replied, "Cheated as in an open relationship that Mark himself made into open one." Okay. I mean, I can see what they think. I guess it's pretty invalid from the start, so anything after that kind of goes. But you should still have some courtesy, I guess. Okay, well, I think that's enough for this story. I think it's very messy. It was way longer than I expected. But I think it's okay. Anyway, here's another quick story, and then I'll end it after this one. I-31F had a conversation with my boyfriend 31M, and the rose tinted glasses came off. How can I navigate this? Hello all. I-31F have been with my partner 31M for 1.5 years. We love each other and it has been rocky at times, and we have nearly been through a breakup, but each time we talked it out and believed we pulled through. The main subject of contention has always been his hobby and subsequent club. He's on the volunteer committee and has meetings every Monday and goes every Wednesday and Thursday evening, along with some Friday evenings as well as Saturday and Sunday mornings. He also spends several weekends away out of the year to do the hobby and uses holiday time for it too. He does admin outside of this also, and has been in trouble at work for doing said admin during work hours, and has even done admin during our quality time, quote unquote. There have been several incidents at the club, and with him being on the committee, he has spent a lot of time dealing with it. So much so it affects his mental health poorly. He has even cancelled plans and changed date nights with me to prioritize his hobby. This has caused many arguments and conversations which stem from him making a hobby his priority. I don't think this is just a hobby, to be honest, but anyway, let's continue. And how he wants to just slot into his how he wants me to just slot into his current lifestyle. I explained that this couldn't happen and we have compromised to try to make it work. I believed things had turned a corner, however, something changed today. I'm bisexual. The local pride parade is coming up and I expressed my want to go. We did not make any explicit plans to go together, but he stated if he was available he would go. He knows how excited I was at this prospect and knows how much this means to me. However, he messaged me to say he was now doing his hobby instead and couldn't go. Now he said he was asked to go and asked me if this was okay. I felt like I couldn't say no. In the past, I've said no and been made to feel guilty because I've stopped him from doing his hobby. Okay, so he's selfish, basically. I'm not that kind of person. People make choices. That's their decision, not mine. However, I asked him if he ever wanted to go in the Pride event, and he said I would have, but my hobby is more important, and then something in me just clicked. This event is important to me. It's something I'm excited about, something that I want to do, and the amount of times I've sat and taken him to his hobby, watched, helped, and supported without fail, sometimes without being asked. He doesn't do the same for me. It's not as important to him. It felt like he was saying I'm not interested in the thing that you find important because it's not important to me, and by extension, you're not as important as my hobby. I didn't feel anger or hurt or disappointed. In fact, I didn't feel anything. That's it. I didn't feel anything for him or from him. No love, no support, no companionship, nothing. All the times I've given up my time, wants, and needs to support him, and yet here I am with something very important to me and nothing. I felt nothing. The option was there. There was a choice. But I'm conflicted. I love him. We've navigated things before. How can I navigate this further? And what advice would you give someone? Okay. Top comment. Sounds like it's not about pride at all. Some people want a girlfriend but not a relationship, blah blah blah. I guess this incident finally brought something, okay, to focus. Alright, so update the next day. Thank you for all the comments. I'm reading this through each one as we speak. I might not reply, but I'm stalking in. Okay. So she says, comment questions to those asking what the hobby is. It's sport, a very niche one, so I'm not going to detail it because it's not fair on that sport to people in it. He isn't cheating. I've been with him on the weekends. I've taken him to the sport. No, I'm not karma fishing. Thanks, bot accusers. Throwaway new account as I posted on my old account didn't interact enough, hence throwaway. I honestly don't care for the whole karma thing. I'm seeing him tonight, blah blah blah. Okay, she's showing him the post. So now 9 days later, there's a new update. Updating here as haven't the freakiest what freaking foggiest how to do updates. Sorry for not responding to everyone in the comments. I got overwhelmed. We broke up. Reading your responses, information, and questions was super helpful and giving me the slap I need to get my arse in gear and leave. Just going through the motions as you do. Now we're no longer together. The hobby, sailing, fuck sailing, all the time. I'm gonna go focus on me and go back to being single. Bye, goddess. Enjoy Brentwood. Okay, girl. I think there you go. The situation solved itself. Let me know what you guys think about these stories. I think basically, it's pretty obvious. If you have a shitty partner, just don't be with them. It's sometimes you don't see it because love is blinding, but once you see it, it clicks, I guess. So that's great. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.